All right, guys, let's talk about one of the most powerful combinations for fat loss and metabolic health. Fasting and the carnivore diet on their own each can deliver great results, but when you combine them, something special happens. You create a metabolic environment where your body becomes incredibly efficient at burning fat, stabilizing blood sugar, and reversing insulin resistance. Thousands of people who struggled for years with stubborn fat, fatigue, or glucose issues finally see real change once they pair these two strategies. Today, we'll break down exactly how this combination resets your metabolism, enhances energy, and helps you stay consistent, not hungry, not tired, just thriving. When you stop feeding your body constant carbohydrates, constant snacks, and constant sugar spikes, something profound happens. Your system starts operating the way it was designed to. You stop running on glucose and start running on fat. The most stable and efficient fuel we have. Fasting enhances that shift. It gives your body the space to repair, to clean up damaged cells, to drop insulin levels, and to access stored energy. Now, when you're eating carnivore, nutrient-dense animal foods, rich in protein and healthy fats, you're giving your body exactly what it needs to build, maintain, and recover without the noise and inflammation that come from plant toxins or processed foods. What I've seen over and over is that people finally regain control of hunger. They don't need to snack, they don't feel deprived, and their energy stays steady all day long. Fasting and carnivore work together to eliminate that constant roller coaster of cravings and crashes. Once your metabolism becomes fat adapted, you start burning through body fat effortlessly. You feel sharper, lighter, and more in tune with your body than ever before. When you look at what really drives human metabolism, it all comes down to fuel preference. The body can run on two main fuels, glucose and fat. The modern diet, loaded with carbs and processed sugars, keeps most people locked into glucose dependence. Every few hours they need to eat just to keep energy up, because once that blood sugar drops, the body panics. But when you remove carbohydrates and add periods of fasting, you teach your metabolism to switch back to its original operating system. Fat burning, that's what we call metabolic flexibility. It's the ability to move seamlessly between glucose and fat as energy sources without those constant crashes, cravings, or mood swings. When you fast, insulin drops. That's the first key. Insulin isn't just a blood sugar regulator, it's a metabolic switch. High insulin tells your body to store fat. Low insulin tells your body to burn it. By extending the time between meals, you're giving insulin a chance to fall, and that's when fat oxidation really ramps up. But when you're also eating carnivore, meaning zero carbs and zero sugar, insulin stays consistently low. Your liver starts producing ketones from fat, both from your diet and your own body stores. Those ketones become your new clean fuel. They power your brain, your muscles, and your mitochondria far more efficiently than glucose ever did. Inside the cells, a lot starts happening. Mitochondria, the energy factories, begin adapting to this new environment. They increase in number and efficiency. It's like taking your engine apart and rebuilding it for high performance. Ketones signal the body to upregulate fat burning enzymes to enhance antioxidant capacity and to reduce oxidative stress. That means less inflammation, better recovery, and more consistent energy output. You're no longer relying on a constant stream of carbs just to get through the day. One of the big misconceptions people have is that they'll run out of energy without carbs. But when your body is metabolically flexible, that never happens. You have thousands of calories of fat available even on a lean frame, and fasting allows you to access it. You start to notice that hunger doesn't hit like it used to. You can go hours without food, feel sharp, and stay focused. That's not willpower. That's biology working the way it should. Your body is no longer a prisoner to blood sugar swings. It's self-sufficient, tapping into its own reserves with precision. There's another layer to this: hormonal balance. When glucose is the dominant fuel, insulin is constantly elevated. That keeps fat locked away and drives hunger through the roof. But once insulin stabilizes, other hormones like glucagon, growth hormone, and adiponectin rise. Those hormones work together to mobilize fat, preserve muscle, and promote repair. You become more efficient at nutrient partitioning, meaning the food you eat goes toward building lean tissue instead of being stored as fat. Ketosis also impacts the brain. Ketones cross the blood-brain barrier easily and provide a steady supply of energy that keeps mental clarity high. Many people describe it as a clean, focused state, no fog, no afternoon slump. It's not just psychological, it's metabolic stability at work. The brain loves ketones. They're neuroprotective, anti-inflammatory, and they reduce excitotoxicity, which is a fancy way of saying your neurons are calmer and healthier. When fasting and carb elimination work together, you're not just burning fat, you're remodeling your metabolism. You're restoring the natural ability to shift between fuel sources without friction. This is what our ancestors did daily because food wasn't always available. Their survival depended on metabolic flexibility. Modern society, constant snacking and processed foods broke that system. The carnivore diet and fasting bring it back online. Over time, this metabolic switch transforms how you feel and function. You wake up energized, you recover faster, you think clearer, and your weight regulates itself. You stop chasing energy with coffee or carbs. Your mitochondria are optimized, your insulin is low and stable, and your body is burning fat like a machine. It's not magic, it's the natural outcome of giving your biology what it's designed for: real food, real fuel, and real fasting. The biggest driver behind weight gain, fatigue, and metabolic disease isn't just overeating, it's chronically elevated insulin. Insulin is the hormone that manages blood sugar, but when it's constantly triggered by frequent meals and high-carb foods, your body becomes resistant to its effects. That's insulin resistance, the foundation of prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, and most stubborn fat problems. The real solution isn't another medication or calorie-restricted diet. It's getting insulin back under control. That's exactly what fasting and a zero-carb carnivore diet do better than anything else. When you stop flooding your system with carbohydrates, insulin naturally drops. Every time you eat carbs, even healthy ones like oats or fruit, your blood sugar rises and insulin rushes in to bring it down. The more often this happens, the more your cells start ignoring that signal. The pancreas compensates by producing even more insulin, and over time, that elevated baseline keeps fat locked away. Fasting interrupts that cycle. By extending the time between meals, you finally allow insulin levels to fall to baseline. The longer you spend in that low insulin state, the more sensitive your cells become again. It's like giving your receptors a break from constant stimulation. They reset and insulin starts working efficiently again. Now, when you combine that fasting window with a zero-carb carnivore approach, the effect compounds. You're not just lowering insulin occasionally, you're keeping it consistently low. No spikes, no roller coaster. Your body learns to function with stable blood sugar because there are no carbs driving fluctuations. This steady hormonal environment allows fat to be mobilized for energy instead of stored. Once insulin is out of the way, fat cells open up, and your body starts burning its own reserves. That's when people finally start losing stubborn fat that resisted every other diet. Insulin resistance doesn't only affect fat storage, it also impacts energy and hunger regulation. When your cells can't properly take up glucose, your brain interprets that as low energy, even if you've eaten plenty. That's why people with insulin resistance often feel tired and hungry at the same time. It's a broken communication system. Lowering insulin corrects that. Once receptors are resensitized, your body accurately senses energy availability again. You eat less, you crave less, and your energy stabilizes. It's not about willpower, it's physiology aligning with how your body's designed to run. On a cellular level, fasting promotes a process called autophagy, cellular cleanup and repair. Damaged insulin receptors on cell membranes get replaced with new functional ones. Mitochondria regenerate and inflammation decreases. The carnivore diet enhances this process because it eliminates the biggest dietary drivers of inflammation: seed oils, refined carbs, and plant-based antinutrients. Without that constant oxidative stress, insulin signaling improves dramatically. It's like clearing static from a radio. The communication between hormones and cells becomes clear again. Lower insulin also has a ripple effect on other hormones. Leptin, which controls hunger and satiety, begins to function properly again. Cortisol, the stress hormone, becomes more balanced, and fat storage around the midsection decreases. The body no longer feels under metabolic stress. Blood sugar remains stable throughout the day, which means fewer crashes, fewer cravings, and better focus. Many people report that they finally stop feeling hangry or dependent on snacks, a clear sign that their insulin sensitivity is restored. The results often come fast because you're fixing the root cause, not just the symptoms. Within a few weeks of combining fasting with carnivore eating, fasting blood insulin levels drop, triglycerides improve, HDL rises, and waist circumference shrinks. These aren't just cosmetic benefits, they're markers of true metabolic repair. The body is learning to access stored fuel again instead of being trapped in storage mode. Prediabetes, fatty liver, and stubborn belly fat all share the same origin: too much insulin for too long. By pulling carbs out of the equation and spacing out meals, you're finally reversing that process. You're allowing your body to restore insulin sensitivity naturally, without drugs, without hunger, without restriction. It's not about starving yourself. It's about aligning your eating pattern with human biology. Fasting and carnivore together create the most powerful low insulin environment possible, the one that lets your body heal, burn fat efficiently, and return to metabolic balance. Once that happens, energy, focus, and health follow automatically. When you first start removing carbohydrates and incorporating fasting, your body goes through a transition. It's learning to run on a different fuel source. Most people have been dependent on glucose for decades, constantly topping off with snacks, bread, or energy drinks just to stay functional. The problem is that this dependence creates instability. Energy rises and crashes in waves, and hunger follows right behind. But when you combine fasting with a carnivore diet, you break that dependency. You train your metabolism to become fat adapted, to burn fat cleanly, efficiently, and consistently for both physical and mental performance. Fat adaptation means your body's primary energy system shifts from burning glucose to burning fatty acids and ketones. It's like upgrading from a flickering candle to a steady flame. The process starts when you lower insulin through fasting and eliminate carbs through carnivore eating. With insulin levels low, your body gains access to its fat stores. Triglycerides break down into fatty acids, which your liver converts into ketones, molecules that serve as a high-octane, stable fuel for your brain and muscles. Over time, your mitochondria, the tiny power plants in your cells, become more efficient at using these fuels. They generate more ATP, the body's energy currency, with less oxidative waste. That's why people often describe feeling cleaner energy, no jitters, no midday crash, just steady output. The synergy between fasting and carnivore eating accelerates this adaptation. During fasting, your glycogen stores deplete, pushing your body to rely on fat. When you break your fast with pure animal foods, you're feeding that fat-burning machinery exactly what it needs: healthy fats and high-quality protein. There's no metabolic confusion, no sugar spike to kick you out of ketosis. This back and forth rhythm between fasting and carnivore eating keeps your metabolism primed for fat oxidation around the clock. It's not just about burning body fat. It's about transforming your energy systems to run on the most reliable fuel available. Once your body is fat adapted, the energy equation changes dramatically. Instead of eating every few hours, you can go extended periods without hunger because your body seamlessly taps into stored fat. This makes fasting feel natural, not forced. Hunger becomes predictable and calm, not urgent and overwhelming. That freedom from constant eating is one of the biggest psychological benefits people experience. You start realizing you're not ruled by your appetite anymore. Your body is self-sufficient, running off its own reserves with incredible efficiency. The mental clarity that comes from fat adaptation is something many people don't expect. The brain runs exceptionally well on ketones. They provide a steady supply of energy that doesn't fluctuate like glucose. That means focus lasts for hours, creativity increases, and mood stabilizes. This is why so many report better concentration and sharper cognition once they're in this metabolic state. It's the exact opposite of that foggy, sluggish feeling that comes after a carb-heavy meal. Physically, the difference is just as profound. When your muscles become fat adapted, they rely less on glycogen and more on fatty acids for endurance. That means you can sustain effort longer without needing constant fuel. Athletes who train in a fasted or low carb state often find their endurance improves because they're no longer limited by the small glycogen tank. They're tapping into an almost endless supply of stored fat. Recovery also improves because ketones reduce inflammation and oxidative stress in the muscles. It's a cleaner burn with less metabolic residue. Another key piece of this puzzle is mitochondrial efficiency. The mitochondria not only become more numerous through fasting, but also more effective at oxidizing fat and producing energy. This cellular adaptation translates to higher metabolic stability, better resilience to stress, and even improved longevity markers. Essentially, your cells become younger in function. They waste less energy and produce fewer free radicals, which is why people often describe a deep, sustained sense of vitality on this approach. The synergy of fasting and carnivore eating eliminates the chaos caused by carbs. No more peaks and valleys, no more sugar crashes, no more dependency on snacks or caffeine just to stay alert. You wake up energized, stay sharp all day, and your energy doesn't dip as the day goes on. You're running on the most stable, ancient, and efficient fuel your body was designed to use. Fat. This is metabolic freedom in its purest form. It's not about deprivation, it's about optimization. Once your body learns this rhythm, you're no longer fighting your metabolism, you're harnessing it. One of the biggest reasons people fail with traditional diets is hunger. They constantly battle cravings, willpower, and the urge to snack. The body resists starvation by driving appetite through powerful hormones like leptin and ghrelin. When these hormones are dysregulated, which happens with high-carb processed diets, it becomes almost impossible to lose weight sustainably. But when you combine fasting with nutrient-dense animal foods, something completely different happens. Hunger normalizes. You stop feeling like you're fighting your biology. Fasting becomes effortless because your appetite control system resets at a hormonal level. Let's start with leptin, the hormone responsible for telling your brain you've had enough to eat. In a healthy metabolism, leptin rises after a meal and signals satiety. But in people who consume lots of refined carbs and seed oils, leptin signaling becomes impaired. This is called leptin resistance. The brain doesn't get the "I'm full" message, so you keep eating even when you've had enough energy. Fasting and a carnivore diet repair that signal. When you lower insulin through fasting and remove inflammation from plant toxins and processed foods, leptin sensitivity returns. Your brain starts hearing the message again. Meals become satisfying. You eat, feel full, and stop naturally without counting calories. Then there's ghrelin, the hunger hormone. It rises before meals to make you eat and falls after you've eaten. In a carb-based diet, ghrelin spikes erratically throughout the day because blood sugar is constantly fluctuating. This is why people feel hungry just 2 hours after breakfast or crave something sweet in the afternoon. But when you're eating fatty cuts of meat, eggs, and nutrient-rich animal foods, ghrelin stays balanced. Fat and protein digest slowly and provide long-lasting energy. You don't get those sharp hunger pangs or mental fog that come from glucose drops. Your body learns to trust that it's getting steady, reliable nourishment. Fasting adds another layer of control. Over time, ghrelin adapts to your eating schedule. If you consistently eat 1 or 2 meals a day, ghrelin spikes only at those times. It stops bothering you during fasting hours because the body understands the rhythm. That's why people often report that fasting becomes easier after a few days. Hunger no longer feels like an emergency. It becomes predictable, short-lived, and easy to manage. Your appetite aligns with your body's real energy needs, not with habits or cravings. The carnivore diet reinforces this because it provides the most satiating nutrients in existence, protein and fat. Protein triggers powerful satiety signals in the brain by increasing peptide YY and CCK, hormones that suppress hunger. Meanwhile, Fat slows digestion and maintains blood sugar stability. Together, they create a perfect storm for appetite control. When you eat a ribeye or a few eggs cooked in butter, your body gets everything it needs. There's no urge to graze afterward because your nutritional needs are met at a deep level. Another important factor is nutrient density. Processed foods are calorically dense but nutritionally empty, which tricks the body into constant searching for missing nutrients. That's why people overeat junk food but still feel unsatisfied. Animal foods solve that problem. They're rich in essential amino acids, vitamins, and minerals that directly support metabolic and hormonal balance. Once those deficiencies are corrected, cravings fade because the body is finally nourished. Many people find that their relationship with food completely changes. They go from being controlled by hunger to eating with intention. Fasting doesn't feel restrictive. It feels natural. You can skip meals without stress because your body isn't panicking for glucose. You're calm, steady, and in control. Appetite becomes a quiet background signal instead of a constant shout. This natural regulation of leptin and ghrelin is why fasting and carnivore work so well together. Fasting teaches your body to access stored energy, and carnivore eating ensures that when you do eat, you're fully replenished. It's the perfect balance between metabolic repair and hormonal stability. You're no longer stuck in the endless loop of hunger, guilt, and overeating. Instead, you experience genuine food freedom, eating when you're truly hungry, stopping when you're satisfied, and feeling strong and alert throughout the day. This is what sustainable fat loss actually looks like. Effortless, control driven by biology, not discipline. When you combine fasting with the carnivore diet, you're doing more than just losing fat. You're triggering a deep cellular renewal process that modern medicine still struggles to replicate. The human body has an incredible built-in mechanism for self-repair called autophagy. It literally means self-eating, but not in a destructive way. It's how your cells identify and recycle damaged parts, misfolded proteins, dysfunctional mitochondria, and other cellular debris that accumulate over time. When you fast, insulin drops, nutrient sensing pathways quiet down, and autophagy activates. Your body shifts from growth mode into repair mode. Instead of using energy to digest food, it directs energy inward toward cleaning, healing, and rebuilding. Now, when that fasting state is paired with a carnivore diet, the repair process gets amplified. Animal foods, especially red meat, eggs, and organ meats supply the exact building blocks your body needs to rebuild stronger cells. You're not feeding inflammation, you're feeding regeneration. Protein from animal sources provides all essential amino acids in the right ratios, which are used to repair muscle tissue, enzymes, and hormones after autophagy has cleared the old material out. It's a perfect biological cycle. Fasting breaks down the weak and damaged, while carnivore eating rebuilds the strong and resilient. One of the most powerful aspects of this combination is how it impacts inflammation. Chronic inflammation is the root of almost every modern disease, from arthritis and cardiovascular issues to insulin resistance and neurodegeneration. High carb diets, seed oils, and processed foods all drive inflammatory responses by increasing oxidative stress and cytokine production. The carnivore diet removes those triggers entirely. With no sugar, no grains, and no industrial oils, your inflammatory burden drops dramatically. The body stops fighting constant irritants, and that energy is redirected toward repair. Fasting also plays a direct role in lowering inflammation. During extended fasting windows, inflammatory markers like CRP and IL-6 decrease significantly. The immune system essentially recalibrates itself. Old, overactive immune cells get cleared out through autophagy, and new, more efficient ones take their place. This means your immune system becomes sharper, not weaker. It's less reactive but more precise. When you add nutrient-dense animal foods back in, you're supplying the exact micronutrients, zinc, selenium, vitamin D, omega-3s that support immune balance and cellular defense. This is why people on a fasting carnivore approach often report clearer skin, fewer aches, improved digestion, and overall better recovery. On a deeper level, this synergy also protects and enhances mitochondrial health. Mitochondria are the energy generators inside each cell, and they're highly sensitive to inflammation and oxidative stress. Fasting activates mitophagy, the targeted recycling of old mitochondria, making room for new ones. The carnivore diet then provides the raw materials, carnitine, CoQ10, and healthy fats to support mitochondrial regeneration and energy production. This not only boosts energy levels, but also slows down the cellular aging process. When mitochondria function well, your entire system runs smoother, from brain clarity to muscle performance. Another major benefit is recovery. Athletes, lifters, and even everyday individuals notice that when they fast and eat carnivore, soreness decreases, joints feel better, and recovery time shortens. That's because inflammation from training or daily stress resolves faster when insulin and blood sugar are stable. The body isn't constantly in a reactive, inflamed state. Instead, it's in a controlled cycle of breakdown and repair, exactly how it's meant to function. Collagen-rich meats like bone broth and slow-cooked cuts provide glycine and proline, which help rebuild connective tissue and support joint health. Longevity also ties directly into this process. Chronic inflammation and poor cellular cleanup accelerate aging. Fasting triggers the same genetic pathways that extend lifespan in animal studies, particularly the AMPK and sirtuin pathways, which regulate metabolism and cellular stress resistance. Pair that with the anti-inflammatory, nutrient-rich nature of carnivore foods, and you're not just adding years to your life, you're improving the quality of those years. You move better, think clearer, and recover faster because your cells are functioning at a higher level. This combination, fasting to clean out the old, carnivore eating to rebuild the new, represents one of the most efficient natural strategies for long-term health. It's not a detox gimmick or a short-term cleanse. It's how the body was designed to maintain itself before the era of constant eating and processed food. Every fasting window gives your body a chance to heal. Every carnivore meal gives it the tools to rebuild over time. Inflammation fades, energy rises, and your system starts operating like it's been reset. You're not just burning fat, you're rejuvenating from the inside out. At some point, almost everyone trying to lose fat hits a wall. They cut calories, they exercise more, they do everything right, yet the scale refuses to move. What's happening isn't failure, it's metabolic adaptation. The body's metabolism slows down to conserve energy when it senses restriction or stress. The harder you push with conventional dieting, the more it resists. This is why so many people end up stuck in cycles of yo-yo weight loss. But when you combine fasting with the carnivore diet, you approach metabolism from a completely different angle. Instead of fighting your body, you retrain it to burn efficiently again. You reset the system, not by depriving it, but by healing it. Fasting works as the trigger for this reset. When you fast, your insulin drops, your body starts mobilizing fat stores, and you activate pathways that increase mitochondrial efficiency. This tells your body that food scarcity isn't a crisis, it's an opportunity to become metabolically sharper. Over time, fasting teaches your system to run leaner and cleaner. You're no longer dependent on a steady flow of calories because your body becomes capable of accessing its own energy stores. This metabolic flexibility alone breaks through most plateaus because it removes the number one barrier to fat loss, insulin resistance. Now add the carnivore diet to the equation. After fasting has triggered fat burning and cleanup, you were fed with the most metabolically supportive foods possible, protein and healthy fats from animal sources. These foods don't spike insulin, they don't inflame the gut, and they provide every nutrient your thyroid, adrenal glands, and hormones need to function properly. The thyroid in particular thrives on adequate protein and cholesterol intake. Contrary to what many people believe, cholesterol isn't the enemy, it's the raw material for sex hormones and thyroid hormones. When you eat fatty cuts of meat and eggs, you're feeding your endocrine system the exact substrates it needs to restore balance. One of the main reasons metabolism slows is chronic stress, both dietary and lifestyle. Frequent eating, high sugar intake, and constant digestive burden keep cortisol elevated and the nervous system on alert. Fasting provides relief from that constant stimulation. It's like giving your metabolism a chance to breathe. The digestive system rests, inflammation falls, and hormonal signaling becomes more precise. When you break your fast with simple whole animal foods, your body absorbs nutrients efficiently without the digestive chaos of plant fibers, lectins, or processed ingredients. This combination lowers systemic stress and restores the hormonal environment needed for sustainable fat loss. Another piece of the puzzle is the effect this lifestyle has on muscle preservation. Traditional calorie restriction diets often cause muscle loss, which further slows metabolism, but fasting and carnivore eating protect lean mass. Growth hormone rises during fasting, preserving muscle tissue, and the protein-rich refeed after a fast supports repair and growth. This means your metabolic rate stays high even as fat decreases. Muscle is metabolically active tissue. The more you preserve, the higher your long-term fat burning capacity becomes. People who adopt this approach often notice that after years of plateauing, their bodies start responding again, not just with weight loss, but with renewed energy, stable moods, and consistent performance. This happens because their metabolism isn't being tricked or forced. It's being rebuilt. Thyroid regulates temperature and energy output more efficiently. Testosterone and estrogen balance out. Cortisol normalizes, reducing that stubborn belly fat that resists every other diet. Your body is no longer in survival mode, it's in thriving mode. The long-term sustainability of fasting with carnivore eating comes from its simplicity. You're not counting calories or obsessing over portion sizes. You eat nutrient-dense meals, you fast according to your lifestyle, and your metabolism stays adaptive. Some days you may eat 2 meals, other days 1. Your body adjusts easily because it's metabolically flexible. That freedom from constant control is what allows people to maintain results effortlessly. You're no longer relying on willpower or rigid structure. Your biology does the heavy lifting. Breaking a plateau isn't about eating less. It's about healing more. When your metabolism is healthy, weight loss becomes a side effect of optimal function. Fasting clears the path by lowering insulin and stimulating repair. Carnivore eating rebuilds the foundation with real nutrition. Together, they create a metabolic rhythm that supports long-term success, steady energy, stable hormones, strong muscle, and consistent fat burning. The scale starts moving again, not because you're forcing it, but because your body is finally working with you, not against you. This is how you reset your metabolism for life, by returning to the way the human body was meant to eat and recover.